My wife thought I was at my lowest. She rushed the divorce. She didn't know what my father left behind. I've gone back and forth about posting this for a long time. Not because I'm afraid of anyone finding out who I am, but because I'm not sure there's a lesson here. I didn't plan anything. I didn't outsmart anyone. I didn't get revenge in the way people imagine revenge. Things just unfolded, and I let them. I'm 36 years old now. I spent most of my 20s in the U.S. Army. Infantry. I joined straight out of high school because college felt pointless at the time and I wanted structure. I got structure, all right. Deployments, long nights, heat that never left your bones, and the kind of silence that only exists when everyone is pretending not to be scared. I came home after 10 years with a medical discharge, 2 knees that sound like gravel when I walk downstairs, and a brain that doesn't always want to shut off when the lights go out. I wasn't broken, but I was changed. I didn't want much. A quiet life. Predictability. People who said what they meant. That's when I met Laura. She worked in HR for a regional logistics company. Polished. Well-spoken. The kind of person who remembered names and followed up with emails. We met through a mutual friend at a backyard barbecue. She asked about my service, listened closely, and didn't interrupt. That alone made me think she was different. She said she admired discipline. She said she respected people who didn't chase status for the sake of it. She said she wanted something real. I believed her because I wanted to. At the time, I was working security nights while finishing my degree using the GI Bill. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. I had a small house I'd bought with a VA loan, modest but solid. My father helped with the down payment. He always helped quietly. My dad, Tom, was a strange mix of blue-collar and quietly brilliant. He worked on the railroad most of his life, then pivoted into logistics consulting when he retired. Small firm. Just him and a laptop at the kitchen table. He never talked numbers. Never bragged. Wore the same boots until the soles split. Drove a pickup truck that looked like it had survived a war of its own. People assumed he was doing okay. They had no idea. Laura and I dated for 2 years before getting married. The early signs were there, but I didn't recognize them as signs. Just differences. She liked nice restaurants. I liked cooking at home. She liked talking about career trajectories. I liked talking about weather and books and nothing in particular. She said she admired how grounded I was. I took that as a compliment. Before the wedding, she brought up a prenup. She said it casually, like it was just another item on the checklist. Her family had money. Not obscene wealth, but enough to be careful. She said it was just smart. Protection for both of us. I read it carefully. Separate property stayed separate. No alimony unless the marriage passed 10 years. Joint assets split evenly. Inheritances excluded from marital property. I had a lawyer review it. He looked at me over his glasses and said, "You know this protects you more than her, right?" I didn't know what to say to that. I signed it. The wedding was fine. Big enough to please her parents. Too big for my taste. I wore a suit I didn't love and smiled through speeches that talked about ambition and success and power couples. My dad hugged me afterward and said, "She's sharp. Just don't let her sharpen you down to nothing." I laughed it off. The first year of marriage was okay. Not magical, but okay. We both worked. We paid bills. We had dinner together most nights. The problems crept in quietly. Laura started making comments about money. Not complaints, exactly. Comparisons. Her co-workers' husbands made more. Her friends were buying bigger houses. Her parents asked what my next step was. I said I was happy. That I liked my job. That stability mattered more than titles. She smiled and said she understood. But her tone changed. She started spending more. Better clothes. Weekend getaways. Things she said were normal for people at our stage. I tracked expenses. She called it controlling. I stopped tracking openly and just paid attention. About a year and a half into the marriage, my father got sick. Pancreatic cancer. The doctors didn't waste time with optimism. They were kind, but clear. We were talking months. Maybe less. I started spending more time with him. Taking him to appointments. Sitting quietly while he talked about his childhood, his regrets, things he never finished. I cooked for him. Cleaned. Did the things he had done for me for years without ever mentioning it. Laura hated it. She said I was disappearing. She said I was neglecting the marriage. She said my father had lived a full life and I couldn't put everything on hold. The day she said that, something inside me shut off. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just nodded and stopped explaining. Around that time, I started noticing things. Late nights. Calls taken in other rooms. Dinners she said were client-related. I wasn't looking for anything. I was exhausted. Grief does that. It narrows your focus until there's barely room for anything else. The proof came by accident. A hotel confirmation popped up on our shared tablet. Her name. A room booked for 2. Dates she'd told me she was visiting a friend. When I asked her about it, she didn't deny it. She sighed, like I was a child asking an obvious question. She said she hadn't planned for it to happen, but she couldn't keep pretending our marriage was enough. The man's name was Eric. Regional director. Everything she thought I wasn't. I asked her if she wanted a divorce. She said, eventually. Eventually turned into very soon. My father's condition worsened quickly. He went from walking with a cane to barely getting out of bed in a matter of weeks. Laura visited once. She stayed 15 minutes and spent most of it checking her phone. The nurse thought she was a coworker. For days after my father died, Laura sat on the edge of the bed and said, "I think it's time we were honest. This isn't working." I asked her to wait until after the funeral. She said honesty couldn't wait. The funeral was on a Saturday. Laura arrived late. Sat in the back. Left during my eulogy. People noticed. I saw it from the corner of my eye but kept talking. I talked about my father's work ethic, his quiet generosity, the way he showed love through actions instead of words. After the burial, while people were still hugging me, Laura pulled me aside in the parking lot and handed me an envelope. "Perfect timing," she said. "One less thing to deal with. Divorce papers." I signed them on the hood of my car. No questions. No edits. She looked relieved. Almost smug. She had no idea. The will was read 2 days later. My sister and I sat in a quiet law office while my father's attorney explained everything slowly, professionally. Commercial property interests. Investment accounts. Trusts. Protections. The total estate was just over $6 million. My share was a little more than 3. My father had structured everything so that no spouse could ever touch it. The prenup helped. The trusts made it airtight. There was a letter from my father addressed to me. He wrote that he had watched my marriage closely. That he had seen how Laura measured my worth. That I didn't need to fight her. I just needed to let her hurry. Laura found out days later. She called screaming. Then crying. Then threatening. She wanted to talk. I told her to talk to her lawyer. Her lawyer called once, very politely, then never again. Eric disappeared shortly after. I moved out quietly. Bought a small house near the water. I consult part-time now. Help veteran-owned businesses get organized. I volunteer. I sleep better. I didn't win anything. I just stopped losing myself. Sometimes people ask if I regret not confronting her, not yelling, not fighting. I don't. She showed me who she was when she thought I was at my lowest. I just let her rush.